If you want to build wealth with rental properties, then you need a roadmap. That's where the BRRRR method comes in. But before you buy anything, begin with step 1. Know where you're starting from. Understand your market, your goals, and whether you want short-term, mid-term, or long-term rentals. Step 2 is the one most investors skip, and it might be the most important. Get approved for your long-term loan first. Why? Because the refinance is where the BRRRR strategy really works. You need to know you'll qualify, that the loan-to-value works, and that the property will cash flow. Next, get your short-term funding in place. That could be a hard money loan or a fix and flip loan. Then it's time to buy the property, rehab it, and get it rented. Once the property is producing income, refinance into that long-term loan you planned for from the beginning. This allows you to capture equity, lower your payment, and free up money for your next deal. And finally, repeat the process. That's the BRRRR roadmap. Plan first, finance smart, build equity, and keep growing your portfolio one property at a time.
Ever hear about the BRRRR method but wonder how to keep from riding your investment horse straight into a cactus? Well, partner, every successful BRRRR investor needs a roadmap. First, know your territory. Before you buy anything, understand your market and decide what kind of rental you're after, short-term, mid-term, or long-term. Next comes the most important stop on the trail. Get approved for your long-term loan first. Most rookies skip this step, but that's a mistake. If you can't refinance later, you could get stuck in an expensive short-term loan and lose the cash-flowing property you've worked so hard to build. Once you know your refinance will work, saddle up with a short-term loan, like a hard money or fix and flip loan. Then ride into town and buy the property, fix it up, get it rented. And when the dust settles, refinance into your long-term loan. This helps you pull out equity, lower your payment, and free up money for your next adventure. Then do it all again. That's the BRRRR roadmap, cowboy style. Know the trail, secure your exit, build equity, and keep riding toward financial freedom one property at a time.
In a faraway land filled with forgotten cottages and hidden treasure, a young adventurer dreamed of building a kingdom of rental properties using the BRRRR method. But before setting out on the quest, the village elder shared an important warning. Know where you're starting, study the land, learn the villages, and decide what type of travelers will stay in your homes, short-term, mid-term, or long-term. Next came the most important part of the journey: secure your path home. You see, many adventurers rush off to find treasure without knowing if they'll be able to return safely. In real estate, that means making sure you're approved for a long-term loan before you ever buy a property. Once the path was secured, our hero obtained a short-term loan and set off on the adventure. First, he purchased an old, worn-down cottage. Then he restored it. Next, he filled it with happy tenants. And finally, he reached the treasure chamber, the refinance. By moving into a long-term loan, he unlocked the equity he had created, lowered his payment, and gained the resources needed for his next quest. Then, he did it all again. That's the BRRRR roadmap. Know the land, secure your path home, create value, capture equity, and continue your adventure toward building lasting wealth, one property at a time.
Want more fun real estate adventures? Subscribe, like, and share. Every click helps us create more REI Toons and teach investors the easy way.